Good afternoon. This is Animal Uncontrol. Welcome to MuttHeads. Happy almost New Year's Eve, dogs. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Today's topic is another big doggy double standard, one of many, and that is how the parents are treated, or head of household perhaps, by both society and authorities when the family pet kills. These scenarios are treated very differently depending on the species of pet indicated. Now, to make a long story short, when the pet indicated is a dog, everyone, well, except maybe a few folks in our community, but everyone has sympathy for the parents and no charges are filed. Often the mutt is destroyed, but we are not in the midst of a mutt shortage. Now, when the pet indicated is not a dog, everyone screams for the parents' heads and severe penalties are applied. The short answer to this discrepancy is, in our society, dogs are always viewed as the agents of good, and other animals are viewed as the agents of bad. Now, it takes an incredible amount of cognitive dissonance to hold both of those ideas in one's heads, but that's the way it is. I would like to look at a few cases. First, a few cases of the family dog killing kids, and then with a non-dog killing kids. Now, this case here, this Bernard incident back in October, where these two dogs killed both children, a baby boy and his 2-year-old sister. Now, as an aside, look at these. Do these look harmless to you? Also, on the one on the right, look at the crack in this thing's head. What a revolting butt head. But in any case, is the dog or any animal with a mouth sufficient to crush a concrete block, is that animal perfectly safe to have around small kids? Or anybody for that matter. And it seems that the, consensus is yes, these are perfectly safe to have around anybody. Now, what happened in this case was both kids were killed, the mother was torn up. The dogs were were euthanized, but there is this whole outpouring of sympathy. Everyone said, oh, those are poor people. This is so horrible. How could something like this happen? Yeah, how indeed? Who could have foreseen that? Who could have imagined that these two would harm a fly? They say, well, they never acted dangerous before. Imagine, forget about animals for a minute. Imagine the parents had given the children a live hand grenade to play with. Now, of course, the kid might not pull the pin and release the paddle, but when it does inevitably happen, does everyone say, that's strange, it never blew up before? And of course, they don't until they do. This is the fundraiser for the parents of those kids and the owners of those mutts. So this little boy was killed. This little girl was killed. The mom was injured. The father was not at home at the time. But let's look at the reaction to this. And people are donating to them. I pray for you and your family. Yeah, I pray you actually grow brains at some point. Heartfelt condolences. But, it seems that nobody believes that there's any like negligence or recklessness indicated here, I am so very sorry for your losses. Oh, look at this. You've lost not only your precious children and your beloved dogs. Fido and Rover had to get put down. It wasn't their fault. They were just trying to nanny those kids. And this goes on and on. I don't want to read too much because you get too far down in this. You want to slam a car door on your head. But this is very, very typical. Everybody, because, if you criticize them, there are people like, well, I guess it must be great waking up every morning knowing that you're just absolutely perfect. No, I'm not absolutely perfect, but I would not expose small children to these. Let's look at another case. Just the other week, a Mutsky, not this dog, this is just a file photo, it's a stock photo, but it looked like this, killed a 4-day-old infant in Arkansas. So what did they say? Well, first, look, in the report, this is dogsbite.org, but what the news report said, and Colleen is just quoting here, she didn't actually, compose this, but it says, quote, a pet husky, quote, put its mouth on the baby's head. Like, it gave her, just a sweet kiss on the gourd. Then it said the husky's tooth penetrated the baby's head. Well, who could have seen that coming? It just sort of I don't know, the tooth jumped out of the dog's mouth, completely on its own and went through the kid's skull, I guess. So the baby girl was transported to Arkansas Children's Hospital where she died. Okay, so let's see, there was a statement, okay, severe injuries to her head. So they're investigating. Fatal injuries were inflicted by the family dog. Okay. Now, I believe no charges were filed in this case. But going back to, similar to the other case, does this look like something you would want around your infant? The wolf dog? Is that safe to have around kids? Have they never harmed children before? Huskies are very predatory, and they have killed children in the past. Also keep in mind that death is not the only bad outcome. So we have two cases, somewhat similar. Dogs kill kid or kids. I don't know if there's a lot of outpouring of sympathy for in this case, but certainly in the Bernard case there was. So there's this huge outpouring of sympathy for the parents, ooh, boo-hoo, how could we go on? It's so sad. My heart breaks for them. Ugh, gag me with a spoon. Now, let's consider, going back to what I said before, the reason is that, everyone contemplates dogs as being totally harmless, just angels sent from heaven, and they all think that everybody else thinks or should think the same thing. Who could have even thought that for 1 second that these two would be dangerous? I mean, yeah, they could take down a pro wrestler, but so what? They would never harm a fly. Now let's compare that to what happens when the family pet is not a dog. This was a really interesting case. Shout out to a Google guy in the Discord here. I'd heard about this. I forgot about this. So, actually in 2021, the parents of a toddler killed by a pet snake were released from jail. Okay, so what happened was this pet snake killed this toddler, and the parents were sentenced to, actually, I think it was the mom and her boyfriend, were sentenced to 12 years. Okay, Sharon Hare was convicted of aggravated manslaughter and child neglect following the 2009 death of her 2-year-old daughter, Shauna Hare. Okay, the boyfriend was also sentenced. Okay, for the same charges. Okay, so they got sentenced to 12 years. So why is there so much sympathy for these people, but none for these people? Because if you read the comments, let's see if there are comments down here. Yeah, what are they saying? My wife says 12 years wasn't enough. I say it was a lot. Okay, so considering the slap on the wrist given to hard criminals, I would have to say the sentence for this accident was easily preventable. It wasn't intentional. So why are these handled so differently? Well, canine supremacy. Okay. These people get a pass because they were dog owners, and these people do not. Doggy double standard. Think about it. This is animal uncontrol, and as always, people first.